Welcome to another edition of XFeed. Good to see you guys again. Looking mighty fine. I gotta say, happy Thursday. Today's Thursday. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The Halloween, the 31st, if you will. If you're going out today, enjoy. Apologies for having. Actually, I'm not. What am I even sorry for? I guess I don't really go out for Halloween or have any kind of parties, but if you guys have been celebrating over the weekend or if you're going out tonight, enjoy. And it's good. Like I think that we forget a lot when we're here judging everything, sometimes getting emotional over certain aspects. And it's like, we got the holidays, we have the excitement, we have the joy. Just finished an awesome event with Segment where they had a bunch of different keys that they were giving out for different luxury wines. And it was kind of like a cool Halloween event. And seeing on the timeline as well, a lot of other collections are doing various things just for the Halloween spirit. Love to see that. Nemtali, good morning, good sir. Hope you're doing mighty fine. Listen, what was your favorite Halloween costume as a kid? I'm trying to think back to myself, and I think like I dressed up as Legolas, but I look more like Frodo. That was probably the one way back in the day, but good to see you. Okay, so One Line Wonder, I think, is the one who ended up winning the one-of-one Doodles Rubik's Cube that came out a while ago. And so they were just showing this, and you look at it, and my first reaction was like, damn, why does it look like it's been messed with already? Like, wouldn't you just keep that in the case, try to have it completely pristine? Imagine that Doodles really does pop off and we have like a worn one-of-one Rubik's Cube. Like that's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yo, Fluff Bear, what's going on? Same question to you. Do you remember what you dressed up as a kid, at least one year? What was your favorite costume for Halloween? Take a bed sheet over the head now. You are a ghost. Yeah, I mean, I could, but I don't know if I want to like rip a hole in it to pretend I'm a ghost. I guess we could just do it. I could do an entirely blind session. That's the way to go. Okay, so food for thought for a second. So the NHL, National Hockey League, these are some of the team valuations. First of all, let's look and see what is worth the most. So like New York Rangers, Toronto Maple Leafs, they look like they're at the top of the table. Montreal Canadiens, I'm actually sort of surprised I didn't realize that it would be kind of like one of the top teams, but I guess it makes sense. Who the hell is the lowest on here? There's 1.29, 1.06. So the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Columbus Blue Jackets is the least valuable team. Nah, that's crazy. Unbelievable. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because if we take this and we spin it a little bit, Atari, we're going to spin the narrative together. You know what I'm saying? We've seen that on the timeline. We're going to spin the narrative a little bit. What if you could own an NHL franchise, or we're going to have to find a market cap that is worthy here, or would you rather own the entirety of Immutable, Filecoin, Arbitrum, Optimism, Mantle, Celestial, Phantom, Hedera, VeChain? Listen, what are you going to pick? Do you want an NHL franchise, or do you want the entire supply of a top 100 crypto? I'm just saying. Okay, so news from Artifact introducing Move to Earn for Crypto Kick. So Steppen, not to be confused with Stefan or Steven, Keck W, but Steppen was an app that basically had this kind of walk to earn model that was very popular at a certain point. While back, I want to even say like less than a year ago, maybe it was more than that. But now, after a little bit, I feel like it's not gotten the same spotlight, at least within your traditional Web3 circuits. Artifact, kind of looking like they're going to be jumping into that facet. Maybe Nike pulling off some cool things. I can't remember any costumes as a kid. I'll be wearing my DRX onesie to all Halloween parties going forward. Hell yeah. Glad that you got that sorted out. But how in the world do you not remember any costume back in the day? Back in the day. Back in the den, back in the day, back in the hay. Now, what's wild is we buy crypto, right? And you and I, not always, but we're like, hey, you know what? We're going to hold it for like the long term, potentially. Maybe it's here for a quick flip or whatever. And you probably have like not an insane amount, but then you stop and you're like, damn, companies out there do that as well. And they put a lot more into it. So in case you missed it from DGen News, Reddit, the business, disclosed that it sold the majority of its crypto portfolio before October. That is what I call tough, and Fluff Bear, it was the 70s. Okay, all right, listen, 70s was a long time ago. Fair enough. Respect. During the 3 months ended September 30th, we sold a majority of our cryptocurrency portfolio, which consisted primarily of Bitcoin and Ether. The net carrying value of our cryptocurrencies, as well as the gain recognized on sale, was immaterial for the periods presented. Okay. Who are the financial advisors in this? And this is like the thing where there's all these narratives, right? Of everybody screaming, yo, guys, going into the election, crypto's going to do well. So why in the world, unless you just completely believe like those narratives are wrong, you know what I mean? That you would do that kind of thing. Because I mean, if they, let's look at, wow, hold on, we're absolutely dying. Let's actually, never mind, Bitcoin's at 70K, KW. But I mean, if you go back to last month, let's say just like the start of last month. Actually, this is 7 days. We need to go further back. So like here, so Bitcoin's up like 10,000 from there. Now, which isn't like an insane amount, but then when you go back to like the start of the year and just like assume that they bought it towards like the beginning of 2024, which is probably not that. I mean, it was at 50,000. So they'd be up 20K per Bitcoin, which to the point that we're a whole bunch of fish and these companies have a lot more putting into that. Like, I mean, I feel like that would be a pretty gnarly come up, to be honest. Okay, this is absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. So yesterday we highlighted the Mr. Beast happening where he kind of got exposed for being a part of a bunch of like crypto scams. And I mentioned, well, we'll play a clip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, and we'll play this clip. But I need to preface this. First of all, if you got kids in the room, there is an F-bomb that's dropped in this. Number two, if you like Gary Vee, this is a little bit of a tough here. So, Dot at Chicago decided to post on this, and I guess he got like a recording of them talking prior to a lot of these NFTs really gaining traction of, hey, you need to pay attention to this. And this is pretty wild. It's pretty wild. So quick 23-second clip.
Relationship 3 years later is crazy. You should continue to go ham on this because I'm going to fucking slay it for you. But you should probably spend a lot of time right now reaching out to acquaintances, friends, dear friends, and best friends and business associates and get 2 to 3 other whales to come into this, because in 7 years, when you made that person real bank, it's going to matter. Relationship 3 years later is crazy.
Oh, yeah, I got a tingly feeling, and it's Halloween. Yo, sheesh. So, I mean, we have to take all of this with like a grain of salt, because you know, you hear something within the space of like, you think personally, oh, this is going to do well. And the majority of individuals don't really have like a massive network or something to play off of. But then when you hear of like, hey, there's all these people that watch and listen to everything this guy says, and he's going to slam it. It's just, I don't know. It comes across in kind of like a weird way where I think, you know, for a lot of us, we would say back, you know, a few years ago, we really think that this entire digital wave is the future in some kind of capacity. Were the price is sustainable? Not necessarily. Was everything going to work? Not really. I think there's a lot of like nuances with it, but there was, I don't know, there's kind of like a, hearing that back, that doesn't give like the greatest feeling ever, but I guess you can just let him cook, because a lot of those things did come true. And I wish there was more of these, and I don't know if it's like AI generated, because I don't even know if you could do something like this at this realm, but like you take your avatar, you just like throw it into this application and you can like type in whatever and it just does it. Like, I would love to have this kind of component for my ape or just anything in general, and I hope we see more toolings about that as well. Fluff Bear, I remember picking lame costumes at the supermarket. Plastic mask, I wanted to be Darth Vader, but I feel like my parents not spending that kind of money. No, that's fair. Listen, that's fair. Star Wars though. Hey, have you noticed how annoying it is that whether you want to watch sports, you have to get like 13 different sporting apps. So in Canada, you want to watch the NFL, you have to either have like the cable for it, or you get DAZN. For the NBA, you have to get like the NBA app, but you also have to have a Sportsnet or TSN for certain nationally televised games, because it just doesn't show up otherwise. NHL, almost half the games are blacked out, and it's very specific based on regional. NHL is probably the worst. MLB really isn't that bad, maybe because it's just one Canadian team. I'm not exactly sure. For soccer, if you want Premier League, you need to have Fubo TV, but also there's the zone for Champions League, which would throw that under the category, and then it's unbelievable. To F happened to that Phoebe company that did the AI thing. They were supposed to create AI vids like that and ghosted. Oh, were they? That's interesting. So yesterday on my timeline, I don't know why it got brought up or if I just had like a bookmark of it and I was scrolling through stuff from forever ago. During the Paul Barron, I don't know if you remember Atari. Paul Barron did kind of like a plug on a whole bunch of stuff. Futureverse basically implied that they were working with like Apple Meta and they were going like down this whole like VR angle, and it was like fitness avatars that were like teaching classes, and I went to their socials and there was nothing. Oh, that's what it was. I was going to clear out my following. Guys, be sure, whatever you're following, like go back and check. There was so many accounts that have like completely rebranded for like the original reason that I followed them, or just like don't post. And so just, friendly reminder, go check out who you're following. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting clip, and this is just basically talking about Ethereum's early success. So I want to play it and just kind of get your opinion and thoughts after.
Ethereum developed at this time. What I've been saying is, Ethereum developed at this time when there weren't very many credible competitors. And it was basically like Bitcoin was clearly not going to do anything. Everyone else just kind of floundered. And for a long time, Ethereum was like the only place where serious Web3 activity was happening. And now we're in a situation where we have like an actual credible competitor that is trying to win. And so the like open source infinite garden, we'll ship it when we ship it approach isn't going to work, because by the time we get to these things on Ethereum, if we don't make a change to the meta governance process, by the time we get to anything useful like multi-proposer, or even if the L2.
Okay, so this it gets into a whole bunch of like technical I was gonna say garble, but I don't know if that word's like offensive at all. Garbage would be offensive. Gargle is just what do you gargle? Anyway, the point being is like it made me think of like early NFTs, right? Where we created these narratives of saying the only thing with value is on Ethereum. That was the narrative that we pushed at a time because we thought anything else wasn't legitimate. Polygon was coming out with different NFTs, but we thought, we don't want to bridge out this, or because it's not like on like Ethereum mainnet, it's garbage, even though we're paying like unbelievable fees. And now you're really not getting any kind of traction right now. I mean, obviously there's like ETH and Bitcoin, and those transactions are still like somewhat high for sending certain things, or at least like on the in certain specifications, and everybody's arguing about transaction costs, yada yada yada. But the point that I wanted to bring this up for is just the narratives have completely changed, and I also think the narratives that you hear on the timeline right now will also change over time, because there's just so much conviction. And I made a post on X last night that was a little bit more lengthier, that was just giving different I guess opinion more broadly on the space. And you know what, I might even just read it right now. And what's going on, Hoonsy? All the Phoebe companies we bring on rug. Well, I mean, listen, everybody's trying to get like some free money out there. So that is the question. So this was my post last night. Let's go over this right quick. I don't feel like I'm posting thoughts a whole lot outside of the daily live streams, which again, I love you guys for coming here. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Trying to be more of a sponge and take it all in the information and POVs on my timeline, because everybody's got a friggin' take. Things people said they hated before, they now love. And this was kind of specifically around kind of what's going on with Ape Chain, where people say, hey, we want more than art. And it's okay, we just want lower transactions. And if we can buy like an NFT for $5 to $10, hopefully we can flip it. Right. And I think that we've had different chains that have tried to go after those things, but I feel like that's just everybody that said they didn't like something before are now like praising it out the wazoo, which is crazy to me. There's a lot of angst. True. Across socials and Discord, I'm seeing misinterpretations of normal conversations because it's all text-based communication. So I can say something on here and you get the idea of whether I'm trying to be offensive or I'm just sharing a general open opinion, because there's a tone, there's something for it. When people are out texting, messaging on these message boards, when you don't have any prior potential relationship, I've just noticed complete breakouts, freakouts, whatever. When people aren't even trying to be offensive, they just perceive the way that somebody types as being offended, or like trying to start a fight, when that's not the case. And this is happening across a whole bunch of Discords, seen it on the timeline, and it's just really, really weird that we don't have like that realization. And I don't know if it's like a younger generation thing, or people are just, got all this angst going on. There's a lot of comparisons between chains, whether it's the price action, metrics of user adoption, etc. The only issue is most are at face value takes of the token price has gone up, there's this many people transacting on the network, and most of it's just at face value. There's so much context that gets left out, and I wish we saw lengthier explanations of these takes. I think we have the stats. We have the ability to see all this stuff. Just lay it on the line. Let's have a deeper conversation and just see. Because again, the whole point of this and being a part of what's going on here is education. We love information. But it's just, we love information about stuff we specifically care about. I read an article today, that was yesterday on stream, that said something like 98% of the NFTs that launched in 2024 are dead ski. Earlier this year, it felt like the timeline was thrashing older collections. I thought it was a horrific take at the time, and I still do. A lot of these companies are grinding their way through and know how to survive. People mainly want to mint something new to flip, at least in my opinion. If you can't flip it pretty quick, what forms around it? So all the conversations around communities, this, that, and the other thing, a lot of these older collections have a community. Is it the best community that's out there? Well, every single one would say yes to themselves, but I think it's very, very hard to create anything that has traction. We've seen a lot of collections over the past year launch, have an initial kind of buzz, and then immediately die out a week later. We'll get more to that in a little bit. Older collections are proving they can stand the test of time, even if the cost to acquire them has fallen, which a lot of people say, oh, this collection is stupid because the price is lower. It's like, it's not really like a great argument. Sure, there's not as much demand for it, but that doesn't mean like they're going away or they're not continuing to do something. I've always felt digital integration of everything in our lives would be more and more profound. What I didn't expect was that the landscape would be still wide open. There's still a lack of brands and businesses that are the go-to spot for something. I mean, apart from like NFT marketplaces, I don't know how many brands out there, and specifically of like NFT collections, you're like, hey, if you want to go and play a card game, you're going to go to this one. And I mean, we can make an argument of like parallel, or if you want to go and get like really cool merch, these different collections do different merch, but is there one that stands above the rest for any kind of reason? Then it just goes into kind of a traditional brand. Is there some kind of place that you would want to go for DeFi? Okay, like Uniswap's a part of it, but I mean, there's other kind of options. We're seeing different apps, but the point being is I just don't know if there's really that like many household businesses and brands that are like the go-to spot. We're starting to close out the 2024 chapter after another year of many saying this is the year for GameFi or DeFi or whatever the hell narrative it is in blockchain. There's been a lot of building, a lot of acceptance of the technology, and a lot of people dedicating themselves working to create something great for all of us in this new age of the internet. For 2025, I think we'll start to view it as this is the year for us as a whole, where it's not a specific narrative, it's just the technology is widely available. We covered a clip yesterday where Larry Fink was talking about the tokenization of everything. It's just when stuff starts happening on chain, we're going to start just being like, damn, everything is happening and it's for us because it's a part of everything. Yo, fluff players, snowflakes everywhere. True. Yo, Hunard, check price, bad price. I can't take this anymore. Can devs do something? A little bit of copy pasta in the morning. True. My man. All right. Could easily see this becoming the next Liquid Death. If you don't know, Liquid Death is basically canned water. That's a brand, but OSF from Wrecked Guys are doing liquid cans, drinks, whatever you might call it. So for 24 cans, they're charging 59 euros. I'm trying to think back to the BAYC X Bape collab that we recently saw, where I think like 4 cans were exactly the same price, but obviously that was beer, but flavored sparkling water with a touch of lime and pineapple, no alcohol or caffeine, get wrecked responsibly. They sold I guess like over 4,000 units, and they did actually sell out. And so when we're talking about like the household names, when I say, well, what's like the Web3 drink? Is Web3 drink something that people want? Does that matter? Is that supporting the blockchain at all? Would you go out of your way if you were at a convenience store and you had, your Mountain Dews, your Brisks, your Coca-Colas, and a Web3 option of some sort? Do you think that you would go for whatever was your favorite flavor or mood for that time? Or would you go to support Web3? Just a little bit food for thought. Curious your takes. The Great Ghost Pudgy Figurine. Figurine, not fingering. Keck W. Tomorrow, which is today. 8 p.m. EST, only 150 made. Who wants one? So, listen, a little bit of flippability. People are going to want to go out, buy those 1 of 50 penguins and see what they can do. Wasn't there an ape on that Happy Dad seltzer? Yeah, so, Hunzi, if you hadn't seen, Board Jerky like as an example, so they're a part of like the same thing. They used to have all the branding where it was like BAYCs, you can see like on the bottom here, but then they like totally took it away. I don't exactly know why, but for like the Happy Dad, I think, yeah, they also removed, I think it was the same thing where they like removed it as well. They had showed Death Row Records, a little bit of Snoop action on there, but like, I don't know. Why are they going away from certain branding that they thought would get the audience? Is it because the audience isn't there? Do they think that it's associated with something else? I'm not sure about. Okay, so if you want like hot takes, a little bit spice in your life here on this Halloween morning, I got one for you. So there are spaces that are done by Lizard Labs, and if you guys know, Futureverse is partnered with them and a whole bunch of other collections in Web3 as they're doing a token launch coming up. Now, that's not why I'm highlighting this, but there was a space that they do, as per usual, talking about gaming, and it was a take on Off the Grid. So we'll play this and then we'll just kind of react to it. And I'm curious, how many of you guys have played Off the Grid? Anybody? I played it for like maybe 30 minutes.
Wow. I mean, you are very bearish.
It's not about being bearish. It's just seeing if it follows the typical pattern, that's the pattern. I hope it doesn't.
And so I guess there was like a preface to this, and they're talking about Off the Grid, and he's saying that like I don't think that this is going to be like sustainable, and so you kind of have to infer a little bit.
I'm just a bit taken aback by it all, to be honest with you. It's. I mean, Andrew, yeah, you're so articulate. You've got a great voice, man. I don't agree with anything that you're saying, almost anything, but you're super articulate in how you make the points. The idea that you could call this a failure or an pending failure is just, it's so bonkers to me. It's so off the mark to me, like, because there's so many reasons to argue with you on this, like and to point out why it's not. I mean, the fact is that they've been able to completely control the narrative in probably one of the most groundbreaking ways in about 5 years. Controlling the narrative in crypto games is one of the most important things you can do. Far more important than any chart or any historical data from the past. And they've done it with the support of Avalanche, who've been incredibly supportive in making that happen as well. They've been able to penetrate into mainstream culture. And yeah, there's a drop-off, but it's an early access. They've brought innovation. To think that that's a failure is spellbinding to me. I'm so kind of befuddled by it all, to be honest with you. And the idea that it's not sustainable, I mean, I just don't even know where to begin on that. They did a round where Delphi did.
Okay. So I'm going to end up forgetting like different points throughout this, and I've already forgotten my point as soon as I've saved it. So they're saying they raised, and I think the failure is spellbound. Okay, so yeah, I don't really know like why the guy would call it. The guy's bewildered and flabbergasted. I don't think you can call it like a failure. Like that just seems weird because it's like making an assumption that there's not going to be any further talk about this. And when Andrew, I'm assuming before, was talking about how in crypto we generally have it where it's like the talk of the town for like 2 weeks and then it kind of dissipates a little bit. That's a huge problem, like a huge problem. Like, okay, we can talk about how Off the Grid was like on everybody's stream. It was the talk of the town for a day and then it kind of withered away to nothing. It ends up bringing up here that it's like an early access. And I would make the argument that like if you don't have that sustained player interest throughout that early access, it's going to turn into a little bit of a harder problem where I think anything that you launch right now, you basically want to go balls to the wall, have those players and try to really show what you can do. So, I mean, he goes into a point here about like how they've raised a whole bunch of money. And then it's like, all right, well, what are they going to do with that money? Are they going to end up paying the different streamers to be a part of that? Is the interest there on a bigger level? The narrative around it, again, we saw so many clips and we've been playing different clips from streamers almost, every other day talking about Off the Grid. But I mean, if I'm going to go and try to look at like Twitch numbers right now and see like what Off the Grid is doing, like the top streamers right now. Yeah. Okay. So holy sugar. So when we look at this, the top streamer right now has 15 views, right? And the whole narrative around Off the Grid was that it got all these streamers, all these people that are playing it. And I think a lot of games in general are like, oh, we need to have streamers, but we're at a point where these numbers matter. People care about that sort of things because, as I get older, listen, I'm not as good as video games as I once was. I enjoy watching other people absolutely dominate within their game, and it's fun. And I think more and more people are going around the content creation of things. But let's keep on going on with this clip.
That it's not sustainable. I mean, I just don't even know where to begin on that.
Well, I mean, it wasn't sustainable, I guess, based off of...
They did a round where Delphi Digital did the biggest investment that they've ever done, at least since Axie Infinity. So they just got a bucket load of cash. They did a really hyper successful marketing campaign. Their guns token is going to absolutely kill it.
So why is the guns token going to do better than any other token launch? That is the question for this, right? Because it's like, okay, if Delphi Digital put that much money into it, is it going to be something where the token price ends up getting absolutely shot initially, like in a good way, like they end up mooning it? Or what's going to be the deciding factor for people wanting to go into it? Right? Like, how do we answer that? I'm absolute dog water of video games now. I can't even aim an OTG. Yeah, listen, we watch the content creators, my boy.
So if we want to talk about sustainability, they're going to end up with the juiciest treasury, and they'll have so much opportunity to go and hone the game.
Okay, so we have so much opportunity. But the narrative, the interest level, you have it in like a vacuum seal, right? Like, sure, we can bring it back. And the comment that we saw somebody the other day of saying like, like it took us like 6 minutes to try, or more than 6 minutes to get into a lobby, which, I mean, I play League of Legends and sometimes the queue takes like 6 minutes to find players there. And it's one of the biggest games in the world. So that's kind of like whatever, but there's still issues with cheaters in that much. But it doesn't matter. We can say like, oh, you have opportunities, treasury, and eventually it'll work. I mean, that's kind of like at a face value good narrative, but I'd still argue with it.
I think to call it like a failure or a looming failure, it's a disregard of all of the facts.
I don't know. I don't think he's disregarding the facts. I think we have the facts of like, hey, it was the talk of the town, and then it started dwindling away a little bit, right? Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that take, and then it's up for them to continue to get the attention. And speaking of attention, back in 2020, remember when we used to saw pro athletes saying, I'm going to take my salary in Bitcoin? In 2020, NFL player Russell Okung took 50% of his salary in Bitcoin. He turned 6.5 million into 17 million. And I think Odell Beckham Jr. might have been one of them. I don't think Tom Brady was. I know that he was like big into like FTX sponsoring, but I don't know if he went as far as that. And I remember when this story came out, I think originally Bitcoin went up a little bit and people thought like, oh, that's cool. But then like Bitcoin had a crash and people were just shredding on it, being like, what dummies, what absolute brain dead dummies. They shouldn't have done that. They should have just got the US cash. Well, now you wait a little bit. Not bad. You know what I mean? Just going to buy a hockey team and call it a day. What? You don't want to buy an entire ecosystem? Come on. Cuffed. Von Schiller, what's going on, my guy? You see your founder node for Gala is an NFT now? Yes, and we've sold. True. Man, I feel like we've given them years on doing stuff. The founders suing each other. None of the games end up working. The amount that they charge for different NFTs in their ecosystem, it just not a great vibe, personally. Yeah. So I sold mine. Curious if you still have yours or if you got involved with it. Okay, so this is the Charlotte Hornets. And it's LaMelo like getting scared here. But what I want to highlight is his shoes, because those shoes were exclusive and we do have a pair. So LaMelo pops off, and these are, or if he does, I don't actually remember what I ended up paying for these. I don't think it was like 300 Canadian. It could have been, but there was several different ones. I didn't realize like how close they were to like all the different pairs. But yeah, so the LaMelo shoe way back in the day, Gutter Cat Gang doing a specific sponsorship with LaMelo. It says Gutter Cat Gang right there. Those things are gonna be worth $1 million one day, right? True. You have about 4, about to buy 10 more now, and then going to try and buy a Bored Ape. Wait, what? Hold on a second, Cuffed. How much capital are you working with? Holy smokes. See, my issue is like, I feel like everybody's saying, and this is like a broad complaint within the space right now, is there's so many like nodes or like yield opportunities where people are saying, oh, like if the token ends up going to like this price, it's going to, you know, it's going to make everything look silly. And I agree with the thought of like, obviously if the token price goes up, but I mean, we saw ApeCoin end up mooning, but then it like retraced like pretty hard. And I'm like, okay, so we can see these things, but they're already at like billion plus market caps for a lot of these tokens that are in like the top 100. And so I feel like the narratives, unless we see like, again, the crypto super cycle where everything jumps up massive valuations, then it kind of comes into play. But I'm surprised how many people kind of like push that narrative around it. You got a lot into meme coins about to take profit soon. Yo, a little bit of rotation. Cooking with that rotisserie chicken. Love to see it. Okay, so yesterday we highlighted this collection and there was all these comments about it potentially being like a scam. And then I saw Magic Eden retweet it last night. So if you don't know, this is one of like the collections that it was like the new variation of like apes, because everything on Ape Chain is launching this. But there was all this complaints about how they're trying to raise like almost 500,000 US. They're doing like a 10,000 collection. It's the most expensive mint on Ape in a while. And this was their announcement. So after collecting feedback from the community, we decided to reduce the total supply to 2,222. So I guess the other price wasn't needed for a sustainable business model. It was attempted for greed of some sort, potentially, right? Like, I mean, all these things just seem weird. Why we reduce supply without lowering the price? Reducing supply makes existing holders happy as their NFTs become far more rare. Keeping the mint price maintains the community entry level at the same standard. We're worth this price, and serving fewer holders can improve service quality. Now, to be fair, I don't actually know what the hell it is. Like, you go to their page, it says Apes Together Evolve, the first native PFP collection on Ape Chain. I'm going to go to their site and see if there's like actually like a roadmap of some sort, because I don't think I actually did that before. It's a legendary fleet led by Captain Curtis, comprising 10,000 equipped apes. They need to update that site if they're having lesser of a supply. And they don't say anything about what the collection does. Wow, shocking. Absolutely shocking. So when they say we're worth this price, what are we getting? A new PFP? Come on, guys. We can do better than that. All right. So CZ, the founder of Binance out here. So I guess when he ended up going to jail for that like 3-4 month stint a while ago, he says the guards in prison asked him which cryptocurrencies to buy. I'm just trying to think of like how that conversation would have gone. It's just wild. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this edition of XFeed. Happy Halloween. Thank you so much for tuning on in. If you've enjoyed the stream, don't forget, we do go live every single day, whether it's on X, Twitch, or YouTube. If you go back to the live stream feed on YouTube, it's probably the easiest to find those different streams. Would love for you to check that out. We did upload a Third Kingdom guide the other day. If you want to go watch the original Bored Ape Mint, we got that. Just search on the popularity videos. Cuffed, thank you so much for coming on through. Atari, Hunar, the flabbergasted and bewildered Fluff Bear as well. And the one and only Mtali.